Hello, everybody. This is Deborah. This is a break in our Road to Gilead scheduling because I was lucky enough to be asked to interview Annie Lennox at the V&A about her new book, Retrospective, which looks back on her life. She is a wonder, a powerhouse, a feminist, a social activist, and I really got a lot out of our conversation, and they were brilliant enough to say that we could use it as a Guilty Feminist episode, and I'm so grateful to get to share this with you. Enjoy this episode, and we will be back next week with more Road to Gilead. And there are still standing room only tickets for our December the 6th, 2 p.m. show at Soho Theatre with Russell T Davies. Email us if you would like to either come to our January 17th day, which is an open space day for coming up for ideas to fight the rise of the far right, or if you'd like to do your own chapter of that somewhere in around the country. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. It really helps other people find it. And now, spend some time with the wonderful Annie Lennox. Live from the V&A in London, the Spontaneity Shop presents The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Annie Lennox, talking about her book, Retrospective. Annie Lennox, you were the soundtrack to my teens and my 20s. I also had an angel playing with my heart. I also had sweet dreams that came to me in a minor key. I was also, quite often, walking on broken glass. Thank you for giving sound and heart and vision to my deepest feelings that were difficult to interpret without your work, that came to life and I came to a sense of understanding. I know a lot of other people in the audience today will feel the same. And thank you for all the creations and wonderful things you've given us since then, up into Global Feminist, the Circle, which has activated me and so many women around the world to do something genuinely pragmatic and connected for women who need that support and deserve that support. Annie Lennox, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. I'm seeing some familiar faces. I'm looking for them too. Thank you. I want to thank you for coming and taking the time to come and see us today, and hopefully we'll get into something interesting, you know.
Well, we certainly will, because this book, Retrospective, does anyone have it yet? Just give us a cheer if you've got it.
Ooh, woo.
Give us a cheer if you're buying it tonight.
Woo.
There are signed copies downstairs, and a signed copy, of course, does make a wonderful Christmas present for everyone. Can you imagine? And you can say, no, I saw Annie live, and then you can take the signed book, and then you can write Dear Uncle Andrew in. And he won't know. I feel like this is your Christmas solved.
Oh, God.
Absolutely. I'm here to shift units more than anything, I'll be honest. But tonight, we wanted to show you some of the photographs from the book because this book has been curated by Annie about her life. It's a retrospective of her life. And so it starts in an extraordinary place that I wasn't quite expecting. It starts before I knew Annie. Well before, and before Annie knew Annie, before when Annie wasn't even a twinkle in her father's eye at this point. Is our monitor working? It isn't, though. So that was a rhetorical question. The monitor isn't working. It's not working. If we turn away from you unbelievably rudely to look at this, we're meant to be looking there, but we'll just have a quick look and then we'll look back so we can see what you're seeing. So, Annie, can you please tell me, who is this?
Right, okay. This is my maternal line. So this is my great-grandmother, and this is my grandma, as a little baby, and my two great-aunts, Elsie and Bessie, and my great-grandfather. They were farmers in the northeast of Scotland, near a town called Peterhead. And there's my great-grandfather beside the dairy farm with the horse and cart. And there is a sort of family gathering with my mom my mom there, my grandma there, my grandfather. They met at Balmoral Castle, he was a gamekeeper, she was a dairymaid. My Auntie Elsie, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, and my Uncle Jock. So now you know the family. Well, just on one side. So I thought, I've got the Lennox side of the family, but they were in a drawer and I couldn't find them. So the thing is that I want to make another book now, and it's going to be all about the Lennoxes.
Well, it's really fascinating seeing this, because your great-grandmother does seem like a formidable woman.
Certainly is, yes.
She is holding that family together when you look at her face. And you've come from some very strong women who presumably had quite difficult lives.
Indeed, indeed. The thing is that I think everybody's ancestral lineage is really interesting, because whether we realize it or not, we come from millions of invisible sources, and we've been born through mothers. Everyone has been given birth to. And as a woman, I know that experience, and I know how, it's very profound, at least, to say. And I think it's all miraculous, I think it's a miracle that any of us are here, and we're going to live one singular life. But the one thing I wanted to sort of show in the book is that it's not that long ago. This photograph was probably taken just around the turn of the 1900s, which is only just over 100 years ago. And that when you think about the exponential changes that have taken place through the industrial era and the World War II, of course, one comes before two, doesn't it, Deborah? World War I, World War II, the changes that people had to endure, the hardships that women went through, that men went through, the hard manual labor, everything. There's no plastic here. Everything was wood and more organic materials. I remember in the 50s and 60s when plastic started to be used, but started to come into the household,
Yes.
And chemicals, the farmers started putting chemicals on the fields, and they thought this was an incredible thing because it was going to help them to manufacture, have more produce. And the hard graft of these people is phenomenal. And the funny thing is, I'm just an outsider because for some reason or another, I've ended up here. But it doesn't really follow through that, if I'd gone back to Scotland when I thought I was done, I don't know what I wouldn't be sitting here today and talking about my life, So I wanted to acknowledge them and for other people to think, wow, what was my background? Some people don't even know their grandparents, they don't know who they were. It must be something, that's interesting. Okay, we got that sorted. Okay.
I don't think anyone noticed. Got away with that. Well done. Stealthily done. So this is your mum, and
yes,
it isn't that long ago. That's your mum, but you look at that picture, and that seems like generations ago, because everything has changed so exponentially. And yet you have, in one generation, completely, you've engaged with the cultural conversation in a way that's become iconic. Do you think, your mum would have thought she could have given birth to somebody who would be famous? Let's go on to look at more pictures of your mum.
Oh, no. Okay, let's...
If I say that.
Oh, there we go. There she is, my mum. That's a two-room tenement house where I was brought up. And basically everything happened, we had a best room at the front, like many Scottish tenement houses were like that. One room would be multifunctional. So we'd have it would be the kitchen, the sitting room, the dining room, and the bedroom, all in one. And that was how it was. Everything was just like that. And I slept in the front room, which is just where those windows are. And they used to pull the sofa out at night, and that would be my bed, And that was great. I loved that aspect of my childhood. So many crazy things. There was a slaughterhouse down the road, and then the kids would be playing outside, And then all of a sudden we'd know it was time for the cows to come down, galloping down the road to be slaughtered.
Oh, no.
Yes. And they'd come in a whole pack of cows and we'd have to scamper away and wait until they passed. And I think that kind of thing doesn't, it's a strange affair.
No, there's health and safety now.
I mean, it doesn't happen now, they have health and safety.
Health and safety now.
Yeah.
Very rarely are children trampled by cows in
That's
Scotland.
correct, that's correct. But the reason I'm sort of saying this is because when I look at the pictures, I have these experiences that you wouldn't credit. I mean, I know I don't know anybody here except for my friends, and some of my friends and family don't even know about what I carry in my mind, because I carry the experiences, I carry the memory, and I like to be a time traveler. I'd love, if one could, turn the clock back. I'd love to meet them now. I'd love to sit with them and I'd like to talk about their lives, but that's not possible. So the photographs are like a portal, and I've always seen photographs that way.
Yes, absolutely. And we're so lucky to live in a time when photography was invented for our most recent ancestors, and so we can see these snippets. Was this a musical household?
To a certain degree, my upbringing was musical. That my father's family loved to sing, and so they sang in Mr. Heineke's choir. And Mr. Heineke, maybe I think the next one, there I am, and Mr. Heineke was there, but you can't see her, and I'm the one with the biggest, loudest.
It's very clear which one you are, Annie.
Yeah,
There's
me.
It doesn't even say in the book because it's just so obvious. It's like, which spot Annie Lennox in this lineup of children singing. Your teacher's name is very Scottish, if you don't mind me saying.
Very Scottish, Mr. Heineke.
It's like Heineke.
Yes.
And do you remember this as a really lovely time? Was this your happy place?
Yes.
It looks like it was.
Very much so. I mean, to be introduced to singing and with other children was such an uplifting experience. I mean, if I had more time, I would love to sing with choirs, you know. I mean, I remember that as being a great experience, and learning how to listen, learning how to sing in time and in tune, and how to pronounce the words, and how to keep one's mouth, to have a wide open mouth. You know, it was obviously very important to singing.
Do you remember what you were singing here? What kind of songs you were singing?
Well, you know, there were a whole range of traditional Scottish folk tunes, and also English ones too. So and hymns and all manner of things, actually. Yeah.
And did you have a careers guidance counsellor at school where you'd say, I would like to be a singer-songwriter?
Well, it was funny because Deborah's bringing this up because I actually mentioned it to you at the time that a careers officer did come to the school, and I was probably about 12 or 13. And it's weird. I said, I either like to be a social worker or a probation officer. So I've done quite well, don't you think?
How different would life have been? I mean, you could have taken that path and sung in a choir and,
I didn't even know what a probation officer really was, but it's good.
I think you've probably had more fun doing what you've done.
Yeah, I think probably.
Go out on a large limb there.
Yeah.
But when did you think, I could be a singer? When did that happen?
That happened after I'd come down. I'd actually got a place at the Royal Academy of Music, and I came down here in 1971 as a 17-and-a-half-year-old teenage girl with incredibly green and wet behind the ears. I was a very provincial young girl, you know, open eyes. Coming into London is quite a change from living in Aberdeen, I can tell you. Anyway, I went to the Royal Academy, and I knew immediately, right from the first day I arrived there, that it wasn't right for me. For all manner of reasons, and I sort of stuck it through for 3 years. I avoided every single history of music class, and no one ever knew. So I was kind of like a ghostly figure that haunted all the corridors. But it was a difficult time because I really didn't know where my life was going to take me next. So when I realized that I wasn't ever going to be a flute player... Had
you gone to play the flute?
Yes, I went to study flute. And I wanted to play you see my hands automatically go like that.
Yes.
But
Do you know, Annie, I played flute. We keep finding
I
weird
didn't
things
know
we've got
that.
in common.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, I played flute at school. There's many pictures.
It's
of me
not
playing
an
flute.
easy instrument, I have to say.
I mean, it was at my level. I played with the show band. I love playing flute. I did think about going on with it, but it's so
You could have been a singer.
I mean...
Probably
no.
not.
Although we did duet on Feed the Birds, Tuppence a Bag today, and I felt like it was the inevitable duet that people were waiting for. Sadly, hardly anyone saw it. So you went to play flute. Did you have to audition?
Oh, yeah.
To get in?
Yeah,
you had to go down and
yes.
and audition, and you got in, and you must have been thrilled, and your parents must have been excited for you.
Right.
And then when you were there, you were like, this just doesn't feel, it's not enough, it's not right, it's not the sound I want to make.
No.
And so how did you go from that to your career as we know you? What was the bridge like?
Well, I shared a basement flat in Notting Hill with a guy that worked in the same bookstore that I was working in because I needed to make money part-time. And he had a record collection and a stereo player and headphones. And I listened on this to, he had like Stevie Wonder and he had Joni Mitchell, and I was listening to it, and it really, I don't know, it did something to me. I thought, maybe I could do this. The way I learned how to sing at the beginning, apart from being this young child, was that I just used to love listening to the music that we all loved, and the top 20. And I loved Dusty Springfield, I loved Cilla Black, I loved Petula, I loved Dionne Warwick, I loved Aretha. I just heard them, and I would copy to sing the songs, and I would just sing over and over and over and over. And being an only child, I think, had something to do with that as well, because I spent so much time alone that I would kind of do fanciful things like that. So it's a mixture of aha moments. But I remember one day, I was sitting at the top of a double-decker bus in London, and the thought came to me, this is weird, I just thought, I want to be a singer-songwriter. I think I can do that. And I just carried it. I got off the bus and I thought, I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm going to be a singer-songwriter. Honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but I do. But I'll be real about this. I think you need to conceive what you want to become. I think there has to be something in it where there's a compass that gets kind of like, that's it, you know?
And you've got to make a choice, which really leads us to going from being that only child to meeting collaborators.
Yes.
And this is your most famous collaborator, of course.
Yes, yes.
Can you tell us about meeting Dave?
I met Dave when I was, someone had offered me a publishing contract, and I didn't even really understand it was a piece of paper, just one piece of paper, and I was meant to sign this piece of paper. So I was looking for advice, and I didn't have a clue. And I had a friend who knew Dave, and he knew that Dave had a background in music. And he said, you need to meet my friend Dave, my mate Dave. And I said, okay. And Dave came, and maybe some of you might know the history already, and I'll just repeat it anyway. I was working in this vegetarian restaurant in Hampstead, and damned if I remember the name of it, but it might come to me. Or you can shout it out if you actually know what it was. But anyway, I was working there, and Dave and Paul came in that evening to sort of meet me, and the manager was looking really perturbed because he didn't like the look of them. He thought they were really sordid characters. And he said, there's two guys say they know you. He wanted to actually throw them out. But so they waited outside. And when I finished my work, I was introduced to Dave. And we just hit it off. I felt like he knew me already. There's a funny thing about that, you know. What's that song? I heard he had a son. I felt he read my letters, and not each one I love. It wasn't as romantic as that, but it was. You know, I mean, when you do occasionally have the opportunity to meet somebody that actually meets you, and you feel seen and heard, and connected with, that's rare. Right, Mitch?
And when you do, you have to recognize that moment and take it and start collaborating. And I feel like all of your work, I can feel you, but I can see the way that you love collaborating, like with costume designers or directors, or like I feel it's coming from you, but you're like excited by working with other people.
Well, Dave and I wanted to manifest things. It took us quite some time. I mean, there's a whole history, and it's in there, about the tourists, or the catch, first of all, with Pete Coombs. So they're the records. We made 3, the tourist records. And the beauty of creation and manifesting things is working with people that have different skill sets.
Yes.
So you bring the concept, well, at least we would bring the concept to people and describe or draw or write out what we wanted to happen. And we had to learn. These were our formative years. I'm pointing here to the monitor, but these were our formative years. I look back on this as I really learned my stripes. We toured. Pete was the main. Pete is there with the red tie, Pete Coombs, and he was a really prolific songwriter. And I kind of stopped writing songs because Pete was constantly just churning out song after song after song. And I had that experience of singing behind the mic and being on stage. And we eventually supported bands like Roxy Music. We performed with Ian Dury and the Blockheads. We had some amazing moments in the 70s. You know, that was a special time, and you will all assume that we've all been through the 70s, so we got a shared experience there. For us, it was a challenging time because we had so few resources, but we managed eventually to get that record deal. Well, we got the record deal, but it wasn't easy. It was very challenging, hard.
And you talk in the book about that there was a time when these clashing ideas, artistic ideas, as happens with many bands, bump up against each other. And you tell a story about being in Thailand on the way to Australia.
Yeah. If you buy the book... I'm sorry, I couldn't help that. I have to. That's so funny. However, I did write about that. Well, again, there's a series of very surrealistic encounters and serendipitous things that happened. But we were basically going to do a tour of Australia, and there was a strike in Sydney Airport. The baggage handlers decided to go on strike, so they weren't landing any planes in Sydney Airport. So they told their air company, okay, everybody comes off at Bangkok, and we're sending buses to meet you, and you'll be put up for however long you need to be put up for in a hotel in the middle of Bangkok, which at that time was a very different place, you know. And I actually had my first experience of culture shock, just driving, like seeing, it felt like I was on another planet. It was quite interesting. But anyway, we went to the hotel, and it's a sad story in a way, but Pete, you know, he was an imbiber of alcohol and all kinds of stimulants. And so he couldn't get those kinds of stimulants in Thailand because you get the death penalty. It's really dangerous, you know. So he got himself a bottle of ginseng root brandy and disappeared into his room. And for a couple of days while we were there, and we thought he just disappeared, and we didn't know what was happening with him. Called his room, no answer. Finally, we said, we got him, and come to the bar, let's talk about it. He said, I'm going back to London. I don't want to go on tour. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. And so I think it was, I don't know, he had a crisis moment. But it left the 4 of us without Pete. And we flew to Australia, and I had to sing. That was the moment I had to step in, because I knew all the songs and I knew exactly, you know, but it was intimidating, but it was like, okay, you're being thrown in the deep end. And we went to places like Wagga Wagga and far out, interesting places in Australia, and did that. And then that was when Dave and I realized, okay, we're done with this. Let's form this duo together. Let's do that.
And that was really the birth of the Eurythmics,
Yes.
which was the sort
Two
of
of us.
slight unhappiness of that tour. But
Yeah.
you said that he got a camera in the book, that he went and got a camera, and then it feels like the sort of, from this image here, the visual, this was the kind of a visual birth of you and Dave doing the Eurythmics, and the birth of such extraordinary work that's followed after that. The beginning of the Eurythmics, was that very exciting? Did it feel like something?
It was exciting, but it was also very painful because Dave and I had been a couple and we decided to break up. And that was painful because, I mean, it's the song 17 again, I think it is, where the line goes, who could not be together and who could not be apart. It's really a reference to me and Dave, that we couldn't be together as a couple, but we couldn't be apart musically. And yes, and Dave, it's a kind of very poignant photograph because it sort of says something about the breakup, but we were together still.
And
yes.
still...
This is Gerard Mankiewicz, by the way. Yeah, another photograph by Gerard.
Yes, this last one in the middle, that's Gerard.
That's Gerard again,
yes. With the wedding with all the paint everywhere, which again is very evocative of
it was the martyred bride kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'm very interested in the masks in your work because there are so many different ways that over the years you have shown us these masks that have come about through the visual component of your work. You write these really incredible songs, but then how you are playing these characters, and you've worn so many masks and, you know, makeup as mask. And could you talk to us a little bit about masks in your work?
I mean, as a performer, with the medium of song, lyric, melody, and then the backing of rhythm and different textural chordal progressions, you really have quite a powerful medium to relate to other people at a visceral level, a mental level, a heart level, physical level. And I'm very fascinated by the notion that we all are corporal, that we all have skin and bone, and we present ourselves and as who we think we are. I mean, we're born into a particular family, we're given a name, we're given a culture, we're given a language, we're given a school, and this is all to do with identity. And I questioned identity throughout my life, and I think that Retrospective actually refers to this notion of identity quite a lot, because it's about the evolution through time. Like, who are you? Are you the baby? Are you the 7-year-old? Are you the 27-year-old? Where do you actually arrive? But there isn't really a place where you actually arrive, because you're just born, you go through this unpredictable life experience, you never know what's going to happen to you, actually, and then eventually, like a flower or anything, we have to go, we don't even know when it's going to be, but we depart. And this is probably the basis for all philosophy. I'm not a scholar, I know nothing, but I've kind of worked it out in my head that that is what philosophy, where it all comes from, that we're questioning, who am I, why am I here, and what is the purpose of life? So the masks, getting back to your question, it's kind of like, you can't see identity, you can't feel it, you can experience it through sensory experiences, but the physical body is the presence. And so as a performer, you use this facility of a mask that changes the persona. Somehow you hide behind it, but you project through it. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with that, and I think we all wear masks invisibly as we become the characteristics that, you know, you reflect who you're speaking to. Somehow, when we get together, Deborah, because we've met before, we laugh a lot because Deborah's a very unique person with fantastic reference points, so we spark. That's why I wanted to speak with you tonight, because I knew that we would laugh a lot and we would also connect in various ways that are a little bit unusual.
And that's very kind of you to say, and I feel the same thing talking to you always, that this, what I think I'm hearing you say about these masks is that it's a commentary on what we do every day when we say, I'm a parent, or I'm a person in a grocery store, or I'm a passenger on a bus, that we have to put on the mask for all of those things that to be socially acceptable, but at the same time there is some deep hidden human raw down below that we very rarely let out.
Yes.
So as we have to mask all the time, to a certain extent...
It's a performance in a way. We are performative.
That's so interesting.
You know, and I'm very interested in the notion of self and observation through the sensory, touch, taste, sight, smell. And music is invisible, so that's very interesting to me.
Yes.
I have thought a lot about all this stuff.
Yes.
All my life, actually.
Yeah, music is invisible is a really interesting one, because what you make almost doesn't exist. It's just a vibration. And yet you can make a living on a vibration. Isn't that mad?
No, yes, it is mad. And I'll tell you something, you know, during the COVID, and you'll all know this experience, did we not notice how birdsong was just so phenomenal, right? I hear a murmur. Yes. It was a collective murmur of, yes, I agree.
Yes, we heard it.
And we heard birdsong maybe differently than we might have done before, because there's a roar of traffic and what have you. Birds sing for free. We don't even know whether they know they're singing. Maybe they do know they're singing, and they're communicating with each other in a way that we don't understand. We assume so many things, but the bird song that's sort of God-given, I don't like the word God, it's a very tricky word, people have different associations with it, but in this sense of whatever the source of the manifestation of the life force, a bird is unique.
Yes.
Very tiny. I've noticed very, very tiny birds have extraordinary songs.
And they're putting it out there, we don't know why.
And it's for free.
You don't even need to pay for streaming. That's the great thing. In the pandemic, it's just out there. But that is an interesting thing. It's in nature. You heard it as a kid. What were your inspirations? You know, we talked earlier today about Hogmanay. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was like?
It's funny because back in the day of my grandparents and great-grandparents, especially in the farming communities, they had to entertain themselves. There was no television, not even radio, you know. So they used to have the young men that would come and work on the farm, and they would get together, and we'd be very cold and freezing. They'd get together in a little bothy, used to call it bothy, and somebody would play the spoons, somebody would play a violin, you know, somebody might have an accordion, and they would sing the local dialect. There's a dialect in the northeast. It's called Doric, and I know that dialect. It's these kind of very indecipherable words.
Can you sing anything from that? Do you remember anything? Not to put.
Yes.
You don't have to. I don't want to put you on the spot.
Okay, I can. Yes. Yes, I can.
But will you? That's. Do you want to? You don't have to. But do you remember anything?
Yes, I do. But you put me on the spot now.
No, you don't have to. We can save it for later, and if you want to do it later, you could bring it out.
Yeah.
If you ever want to. But I'm interested in hearing it because those sounds that you were raised with. Do you think there's the sort of melancholic element to your work? Yeah. Do you think there's something inherently Scottish in there?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I think it's. Definitely from the culture, at least, Robert Burns, phenomenal, the most beautiful. Flow gently, sweet afternoon, among thy sweet braes. Flow gently, I'll sing thee a song in thy praise. My Mary's asleep by yon bubbling stream. Flow gently, I'll give thee a song in my dreams. I mean, isn't that... where did that
admission
come from?
price
It
just
came
for
from-
that, I think.
But the thing is, what I want to say is it's in my head. It's in my heart. It's in my head. There's so many. I'm a jukebox.
That's the sound that brought tears to my eyes, because I think that's the sound that I hear.
Feel it.
That you brought into kind of pop and rock at the time that it sort of, that morphed with what was happening in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and so on. That's the walking on broken glass sound. It's the sort of, there's something sad to the happy, like with
always. Melancholia.
My friend calls your music melancholic dance music.
Yes,
she says that's my favourite. I want to move to it, but it's sort of dancing your sadness out almost sometimes.
I think so, and I think that's what we do. I think when we dance, I don't know, we just allow ourselves to be, proper humans rather than automatons. And, when I'm singing, I instantly feel, and I wasn't practiced, I haven't worn my voice up or anything, but in a way I don't really need to, because this is me, that's me in there.
Yes, and you feel that's whatever that humanity is, and I think that's what great artists do.
Yes.
What they're doing is saying, there's no form of words I can just put together that's going to explain what it is to be me, or to be this kind of human, or to say, is my experience of being human anything like yours? So what I can do is I can put words in a strange order, and then I can somehow change the vibrations of my voice, and maybe there can be some kind of beat, and maybe then I can come out in a strange red dress with a mask on.
That's right.
And then you'll go, oh, I felt that. And it's just a sort of understanding. And this slide here is really about the body as canvas, that you don't just use your voice, but you inhabit these physicalities that really take things to another level for me, that make the music much more three-dimensional. Could you talk about the way that you use your body?
Again, I was never taught. It's not like I went to drama college or anything like that. I just always loved, when I was a child, sitting in front of the old television set and watching Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and all this kind of transporting films that drew me in. And so it helped my imagination in funny ways. I would go outside and I would be in the backyard of the tenement, maybe with the other kids, and we would put on performances for the mums, and we would hang a washing line out with the sheets of the, and the mums would get chairs out, and we'd be behind the curtain, and we'd come out and we'd do little songs and dances, and I think I don't know, maybe it's part of my ADHD thing that I've discovered of late, but also that I was taught actually eurythmy, which is a form of learning music through movement, initiated by Émile Jacques Dalcroze. Anyway, I was taught that as a little girl. I used to wear, with the class, we would wear little Greek togas and dance in bare feet, and it was very good for coordination. Yeah. I was taught right back in the day. I wish I would have had ballet lessons. I would have loved that, but we couldn't afford that. I had piano lessons, and that was as much as my parents could afford. But you see, if I hear music, I have to move to it. I have to. I don't sit still. It's something basic.
Is that where the name Eurythmics came from?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was a great name because it had rhythm in the middle, but I took the H out because I thought, that's messy. We don't need the H, so take that out. And then EUR at the front, I liked it because I loved the notion of being European. I really loved that. And
we all loved
very
that.
Sad about
Good times. Good times.
Really sad about that.
European guys. It's amazing. Yeah. That's interesting, that physicality came from your childhood and putting on shows at home and learning this kind of movement. But I do think you either have that kind of grace in you or you don't. And maybe if you'd learnt ballet, you would have been more formalized.
Correct.
And you wouldn't have had these more original movements.
Yes.
That leads us on to your music videos, because I think MTV came along at a time when, you know, it used to be on telly, the band would come on live, we'd watch the band sing the song, the end. And, oh, here's another band singing a song. And there were costumes, but no one was expected to make a short film that evoked a cinematic genre or anything.
That's right.
And I feel like you and Dave, and then you solo, have a unique art form here, because so many bands, they would hire a director, the director would go, I've got a fun idea. It had nothing to do with the song. That was most music videos. It had nothing to do with the song. And clearly it had nothing to do with those artists. We had to have something fun to look at on MTV. Whereas yours feels like so connected to the art. And actually, a lot of them are like moving paintings with a story.
Yes.
Where it's like you did understand art history. You say that you avoided history of music at school, but at the Royal Academy, but you do have a sense of art history, for sure.
Of visual art, yes.
Yes.
Well, when I was at school, I was kind of like torn between going to the academy and wanting to apply for art school.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of musicians are visual artists as well. It's not uncommon, you know. It was something I loved. I loved drawing and painting. I really loved it. But with Sweet Dreams, I just want to say it's so interesting that you've sort of explained this to everyone. Not every band liked making videos. I think it was sometimes they felt this is something that's been imposed upon them and they really don't want to do it, but they have to do it because they've got MTV and blah, blah, blah. For Dave and I, we were like happy, you know, we were in the sandbox with that. We loved it. And Dave was so visionary, had the future. So he came up with the storyboard for Sweet Dreams. He just knew what he wanted to do. And I drew it down. I drew it out, you know, the frame by frame.
Did you?
Yeah, because he would describe it to me. I still hadn't quite cottoned on. I kind of knew, because we'd made a couple of videos. But this one, we knew exactly. And this was shot in a basement in Soho, in the middle of London, with a goods lift that brought this Frisian cow down. And the handler of the cow was so proud of, I think it was a she, I'm not sure if it was he or she, I think it was probably a she, but he was so proud of her that he had chalk to cover up her grass stains on her flanks, you know. It was just her makeup. But I have to say, I love this photograph because it's like an old master. It's like something from another time, you know, maybe, I don't know, like Renaissance painting or something, with the scientists, you know, all collected looking at this kind of unusual thing that's happening, which was a computer, which is right in the middle of that. It was a prototype of a computer with a wooden frame, extraordinarily enough, which you'll see if you watch the video again. And I'm supposed to be sitting on a board table in a boardroom with the glittering prizes of success. You know, it was a statement about lots of things. It's very layered, and it's very surrealistic, I think. It's anthemic, Sweet Dreams.
It really is. Did you know at the time you'd written an iconic song and
No.
that this music video would be iconic?
No.
If you're very young and you might not know this music video and you've been brought by someone, I'm thinking of my goddaughter, who's in the room, it's really this combination of technology and the industrial world and the pastoral and the sort of fight between these two things. It reminds me of Jerusalem, the Blake poem that there's this famous song about the dark satanic mills.
Yes.
And it's got this really it's sort of got shades of 1984 also, the sort of dominatrix feel and this technology fighting with nature. Is that something that you thought, this is what this song is about deep down and we need to bring it to the surface?
Well, the song itself, lyrically, is about the human condition, which is basically sweet dreams are made of this, which was actually at the time was a self-deprecating line because I thought that we had failed so much and because we made In the Garden and nothing had really happened with, you know, commercially, let's say, nobody really cared. The record company were about to drop us, so we were really up against it. And I was lying catatonic on the floor while Dave, in his usual very optimistic self, was trying to kind of create a drum loop. And Sweet Dreams Are Made of This was, like I say, it was almost self-condemning. Who am I to disagree? Like, what can you do about it? Travel the world, and everywhere you go, anywhere, everybody, it's a universal statement, everybody's looking for something. And then you go to, it's not a sadomasochistic thing about they're using you and abusing you, nothing to do with that, but it's okay if you want to say it is. I don't mind, use it, you're free.
When you send art out to the world, you can't know how people are going to receive it or what it's going to mean to them. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just went to see a feminist version of Measure to Measure, and Shakespeare definitely wasn't writing about the Me Too movement, but he is now. And because it's how it lands. And, you know, there'll be people out there who'll go, well, that's something that really means something to me.
That's right.
And it's never really struck me that way, I have to say. I feel it's much more about the human condition, as you say, the way that we want to be abused or, you know, the sort of... It feels to me it's about the way that we self-sabotage or let people treat us or let the corporations treat the world, treat our animals.
Exploitation.
You know. Yeah, it felt much more about that, but I understand why it can also be an anthem in that way. I just love the ambition of this music video. When you say you're about to be dropped and you do something so ambitious, and I bet they didn't drop you after Sweet Dreams.
They did not. They held on in perpetuity.
This I love too, and again, I just want to look at this. Looks like a Degas. This could be, you know, something that could be in any national gallery in the world. Something that you might see. It could be from any age almost. How did you come up? This is No More I Love Yous. Mm-hmm. How did you come up with the idea for this music video?
Well, when I was about 16, I used to go to the Aberdeen Art Gallery on a Saturday afternoon. I was so in love with art, with visual art. And I remember once I was introduced to someone that had a coffee table book with Toulouse-Lautrec. And I saw the posters, les affiches. I saw them, and I saw La Goulou, and I saw the characters, and these kind of slightly subversive, strange, brothel-type places. And again, you know, through paintings, you can time travel, you can encounter amazing individuals. And I wanted to, as I felt like this song, No More I Love Yous, had this subversion in it. The language is leaving me, you know. I didn't write the song, by the way. That was David Friedman and The Lover Speaks, who came out with the original version, which is phenomenal. I kind of interpreted it.
Yes.
And so I kind of visualized this place, and we went down to the theatre in the East End. You'll know it. I can't remember.
Wilson's Music Hall.
Thank you, yes.
One of my faves.
It's Wilton's.
Wilton's, yeah. But it's been there since it was Victorian.
I know,
yeah,
I know.
Real,
it's phenomenal. And you go there and you just step into another time. So that really helped to actually utilize that, not to go to a studio and try to recreate it. We actually went to a Victorian theatre. And for 2 days, I had the notion of what this was going to be. I visualized the characters, and of course I referred to Toulouse-Lautrec, but then you want to take it on. It shouldn't be, she just copied something. It's not like that. You kind of absorb it like a sponge, and then you recreate it and repurpose it. And it was dreamy, especially the ballet dancers were so beautiful, and they were men in these dresses, and you sort of take it and you turn it upside down and play with it.
Well before Matthew Bourne did an all-male Swan Lake, and it's basically the same idea. You play a lot with gender. In the one of the masks that we looked at a little while ago, this is you, the book says, as a woman playing a man playing a woman.
Right.
The one on the top left there.
It did strike me that was actually what the character had become. You know, the artifice of extreme, in America, so you have to remember this is quite a while ago, so now our reference points are completely contemporary, it's very different, but at that point in time, American culture, American women, with a great deal of artifice, at some point that was how you were meant to look in the 60s and 70s, you know, and the artifice, you know, I had difficulty with that as a woman. I was like, well, how far do we have to go? But then it also interested me that some men like to dress as that woman. It's an archetype in a way.
Yes.
So it's playing with. It's playing.
You play a lot with drag. Even the monocle there is very much like French lesbians in the 1920s.
I guess.
Used to have the monocle club where they'd all go and wear monocles together. There's a lot of gender play.
It's in a way it's play acting, you know.
Yes.
There is something of dress up and play acting, and you just made me think, and I'd just like to share this with everybody, that when you're a child, you have often the opportunity to use your imagination and play act, and there, you know, if you can remember back to, you know, you be the daddy, and I'll be the nursey, and you be this, and then we'll do this, and there's a lot of that as a child, but then it stops, doesn't it, into going into adulthood.
And I often think when we were kids and someone would say, you be the bad guy, I'll be the policeman or whatever, no one ever stopped and went, I don't think I'm a very good policeman. I really think I have to research my character. Like, we just go on and on and on and invent more and more stuff until we were called in for supper. You never hit that point of going, am I good at this? Like,
no, you didn't. There was no critique in it. Well,
no.
As a let's say, a professional person, you have a lot of critique, and it's usually internal, that is going on, you know, critique. You have to learn to put that critique, the critic, outside the door, and you have to allow yourself the space to experiment again. You have to be in that open state, you know.
Yes, you need to turn the censor off in your head in order to make the work, and then it's okay to turn it back on when you edit it. I think sometimes to go, don't need that, that's too much. But if you won't make without the critic, without the Lord Chamberlain censoring everything out, you can't make anything this wonderful. Look at this image. Unbelievable. Are you thrilled now that you had so many pictures of yourself at all these different ages and stages that are so iconic? Because if that were me, that would be, one wall of my house would be that. If I looked like that ever in my life
so
and was crouching down as an angel. This is
right.
from a music video called Precious?
Yes, it is, actually. You see, I look at all these different photographs almost like my family album in a funny sort of way, because I am a performer. I have been a performer all my life, really. And I'm 70 now, so that's quite a few decades, you know. And I'm sort of amazed that there has been so much invention. And I looked back on it and I thought, whoa, nobody knows the amount of work that went on. I mean, the number of times, only just by the skin of our teeth, we managed to pull something out. There were plenty of failures, there were plenty of catastrophes amongst, you could call, successes. But the work. And the hardest part really is driving through the night, trying to sleep on a bus that is going along like this, and you think you're going to die any minute, and you're waking up early in the morning and cracking open the curtain and seeing the world is passing by. They're going to work and it's 7 o'clock or whatever, 8 o'clock. And then you have to wait until you get into the hotel so they're ready, and you've got your suitcase. And I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. It doesn't stop.
And this is a picture of that, which is your connection with your audience that you can only really get when you're young by going on the road and having them come into the room and seeing you. And this is I thought just an iconic shot of you connecting with the audience and really being there, really being in the room. Do you miss the audience when you don't get to perform for them? Or do you feel your music's out there and it's the vibration around the world?
It's terrifying and it's wonderful for me at the same time, I have to say. I'm always nervous a little bit before I go on stage. I used to be absolutely terrified. I always brought stage fright onto the stage with me, and I always had to fight it. And now I'm a lot more relaxed. And I also feel like you are my friends. You are my counterparts. You are many of you here are my generation. We have gone through similar experiences. You know, there are a lot of things I'll say that you will relate to, that you maybe remember through the music, etc., etc. And I kind of love this. I know we're not having a dialogue. I know that we're doing the talking, and you're not really getting a chance to say anything.
But I have incorporated some of the questions you submitted into these.
Yeah.
So if you hopefully you'll have heard your question answered. But yes, you are somebody who is constantly having that relationship with your audience because your music is out there, And so when you want to go back out on stage, they'll come to see that live experience.
Yes, I mean, I'll have to just quickly interject and say that I performed at the Royal Albert Hall earlier this year, and I hadn't performed in a long time, years in fact, and I had to actually physically train to get fit enough to just perform for, I think it was about an hour or something like that.
No, it was really long.
Was it?
Yeah, I was there. It was amazing. It was you were I mean, it didn't feel long. I don't mean that.
Okay.
No, I mean, it was. Went on all night, Annie. No, I didn't mean that. It was a night where you really felt. I'll never forget it. But you were brilliant at bringing out different artists, introducing me to artists I didn't know, showcasing artists I did, singing with artists. You were phenomenal. No, you worked very hard that night.
But what I wanted to say was that's the Albert Hall, which I think seats about 3,000 to 4,000 people there, and it was packed. And it wasn't intimidating. It was warm and friendly and lovely. And I felt like whatever I was feeling, that everybody in the audience was feeling that too. So I felt a very good connection with everyone then.
And you take us with you into this awareness that you've got as you've gotten older about the world and the impact we can have in it, including the Circle, these other campaigns that you've done. How important is it that you can do something to change the world with your platform and that you can ignite your audience?
It completes me as a human being. I have been an entertainer, but I don't just want to be an entertainer. I want to provoke thought in people, feelings in people. I want people to go away thinking, wow, what is my purpose? What can I do? I have seen the other side of the world. I've seen what they used to call, or maybe they still call, the developing countries. And I've seen how women are impacted. And it was shocking the first time. It changed my paradigm when I went with, I've been with Oxfam and I was with different organizations, and they took me to different projects. At the time, it was about HIV and AIDS and how women were affected and no one was talking about it. And it showed me like women so disempowered and young girls so disempowered because they weren't being given an opportunity to even have a basic education. So, I came back from my trips. I felt very privileged. And I arrived at the airport and thought, we can all do so much more, even if we just utilize what we have. We don't have to be extremely famous. You can influence your friends around you. Just learn, look at the world and see this disempowerment. And we could do something collectively. So with HIV, with feminism, I've come to describe myself as a global feminist. I didn't coin that term, but it's a beautiful term, and it includes the women of color that is different from this white skin, and I get to be a white, what is that word I'm looking for? Agent, what is it? When you're helping, not helping, but come on, guys.
An ally?
Ally, I love it. I get to be an ally. And my gender also is another passport in because I'm a woman. And it doesn't matter. Wherever I go, women come down to the fact that we are the ones who conceive, have the pregnancies, deliver the babies, we have periods, we go through so much actually in our lives. And I respect and I love women for that. And I feel that in a way, when you have so much misogyny, they really need to understand that women are to be valued, valued so much,
It feels like we were on a climb and we're being pushed, the empire is striking back at them.
Oh, yes.
We're being pushed back down.
That's right.
And so the Circle's never been more important. If you're interested in getting involved, go and check out the Circle, Annie Lennox, just Google that online. It feels good to be part of something in a world that's rapidly getting worse.
It's reversing.
Our
rights are reversing. Many of our rights, not only women, obviously, but with the cuts in aid, we are really struggling now because you have to look to civil society to try to bolster up what used to be there, and you're going to see a lot of death.
Yes, it's a really difficult time, but it does help us to come together and to do what we can. I just wanted to look at this last slide because I think it speaks to, your feelings about the world. I wanted to talk about vulnerability because I feel like you've taken us through so many masks and so much art, and I feel like some of the later images in the book are about the demasking, almost going back to you as a baby there in the center, where you're just looking at the camera, you're not masked, you're not made up, you're not yet Annie Lennox as we know you, but there's something inside of you that is just innocently and openly and vulnerably looking at the camera. And I see that in these images in your absolutely beautiful album, Bear, which really moved me.
Thank you.
We're seeing this just gaze at the camera, look into the mirror. Could you speak to this?
There's a lot to say about so many things. But I'm fascinated by consciousness. We're so expansive, actually, and we really don't necessarily understand how our brain works and our vagal systems and the right-brained people, the left-brained people, our senses. We assume we have 5, but I have a feeling we maybe, I've said this before, I think we maybe have more, but we don't really know. We only apparently use a very small portion of our brain power. And I think it's sad in a way that we look to AI as something that is futuristic and is maybe even going to replace us, when I feel that as a species, we still haven't come into real fruition. We still haven't overcome our latent impulses towards violence. That prehistoric, reptilian aspects of our brain seem to take over so easily and seem to create power systems of hierarchies that use violence. Violence is acceptable. War is something apparently acceptable when it is so unacceptable. It is so unacceptable that we could actually be so crude as to think that we have the right to drop bombs on children, for example. I'm fascinated by humanity. I think we could do so much better, but it kind of really frustrates me that it takes these ignorant, despotic, power-hungry, narcissistic individuals that somehow make their way to the top. And it might just be a handful of them, but they dominate us, don't they? And that we're left sort of somewhat cowed. And AI is coming in, and I don't want to be afraid of it, but why couldn't we change the planet? Why can't we solve these issues of climate change that are so real and so devastating? I mean, I feel that the time is running out. I hope I don't feel too is the word apoplectic? No, apoplectic. Yeah. But I feel very, very concerned about the future because I don't see the humans doing enough to reverse the damage that we have done.
I don't want to be an old lady on a raft with a robot helper, which is how I am now seeing my retirement. Just me and a robot assistant in the middle of the ocean going, this is not what I planned for at all. I feel like there is hope in your work, there's hope in your music, there's also the sadness of humanity and inhumanity in your music and in your work and in your endeavors that are not charitable. I don't see the circle as charity. Charity is sort of handing, blessedly handing from behind. It's solidarity, it's coalition, and I feel like now more than ever, we need to take that is in your work, both in your outreach work and in your art, and we need to hold hands in a circle, and we need to say we cannot let a dozen psychopaths take it all away and give it to some robots that they themselves have programmed with their lack of empathy. We must step forward, we must step up. And so, Annie Lennox, I thank you so much for coming tonight and giving us some hope and some joy.
You have been listening to The Guilty Feminist with me, Deborah Frances-White, and my very special guest, Annie Lennox. The Guilty Feminist theme tune was composed by Mark Hodge. The producer for The Spontaneity Shop was Tom Salinsky. Thanks to Gina, Decio, Zainab Mohammed and everyone at the V&A, as well as all of you for listening. For more information about this and other episodes, visit guiltyfeminist.com.